Alrighty, we are live.
Well, hello everybody, especially you out there in the whole widest of the world.
What is everyone up to on Memorial Weekend?
Yeah, it's a holiday weekend, and we're gonna do this show
I want
on.
to make sure we have volume. Hold on, give me a second.
Good grief! I think we got volume.
There we go.
We got
All
volume.
right, we got volume. All
Hello,
right.
Charles. So, for those of you listening, we're doing a live podcast of Podbean this time too. For all of you on Podbean, we are talking to the group on YouTube. You're welcome to join us over there too. Charles, hello, sir. Hopefully your weekend is going very well. Ours so far is I'm just glad I get tomorrow off. I don't have to work tomorrow, so I get it off of pay. So heck yeah, I'm gonna take that. Gonna take it. We just thought we covered some different topics the last couple times. This time we're just gonna ask you guys to share your hobby tips, and we'll share ours. Obviously, tip number one is make sure you have two incomes, one to pay bills and.
Well, I was thinking you were going to say something on the line of don't get your wife involved.
Yeah, that's doubly expensive. But that's our hobby tip. Make sure you have two income streams, one for bills and one for hobby. And yeah, now we were just going to chit chat about,
different things we've kind of figured out and have kind of tweaked from other people's.
Yep, and
ideas.
everybody's got their own ideas on, what can be done better, or just any sort of tips. So it's just kind of a laid back. It's a holiday, so we appreciate you guys showing up there. But anyways, yeah, I guess the number two tip would be if you have a significant other involved in the hobby, learn to find recipes that deal with eating lots of beans and rice.
We did that for 2 weeks for you to get that freaking game.
Which game? It wasn't a game, it was a box set.
It was the box set.
It was an Indominus box set.
Yeah. So don't go blame that on me, because I didn't get nothing.
It's not a game, no. Damn it, it's a box set. So, yeah. So make sure that you have plenty of experience with things like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and, I'd say eggs, but heck, eggs are getting expensive now, right? Well, they're come down a little, but it's not cheap. So joking aside, I guess hobby tips would be, what can you do with your paints? Ashley likes to mix multiple paints.
So at one point, Greg bought me these like little itty bitty like squeeze bottles, which I ended up using them all. But I did a whole bunch of mixing between Citadel, Army Painters. If I needed a different shade of one color, I would add a little bit of black or a little bit of white. Anymore, I don't really do that because when I paint, I'll do like a factory kind of thing where if it's a group of 5, I'll do the same color, all 5. But anymore, I've learned that if I'm going to do something like that, make sure the color that I'm trying to mix, that I don't run out of, for one. And 2, that's like the very last color that I need to go and use. Because if I have to go try to say paint over black or do the black detailing and you mess up the other part, you're kind of SOL if you run out.
Well, the thing with mixing paints, though, is you can mix a paint and go, oh my God, this looks great.
And never
be able to duplicate it. So if you're going to sit there and mess around with mixing paints and you've got a fairly large size model, depending on what you're going to paint on it.
I mean, unless you have like a scale that you go and say, okay, it's going to be 2 milliliters of this and a milliliter of this, then you can maybe duplicate it. A lot of my mixing goes on this. A couple drops or whatever I'm using. This is actually my miracle. I have to hide this from our 3-year-old.
Yeah, she will come, and she likes to paint, though.
She loves painting. She has her own desk with all her own paints. So.
But the thing, too, I was going to add is that goes with mixing resin. So I've done my share of molds and resin casting. And if any of you are familiar with the term go to ground, like in Team Yankee or some of the others, where your troops go to ground, basically they have cover, There's little markers that people have made for that, over the years. And so a couple of years ago, I made some, which I'm pretty proud of myself. They came out very good. But then I found resin color, and so what I did is I made a cast with one. You mix the resin. I thought I put the same drop size in this second batch, but obviously I didn't. So you can't measure it perfectly. So it didn't come out the same because I wanted to come out kind of like a muddy brown. So like the troops had,
Oh,
dug
I
out.
remember that.
Yeah. And but then they just came out in different colors. So
Yeah,
I was like,
browns. It was like, well.
I tried it, and it's probably better for me to. Well, it was better than for me to just cast them,
And then paint them.
and then primer and paint them. That way, I go to ground markers. But it was just interesting that if you don't watch it, it's not gonna come out the same every time. So they do it in factories, but we're not a factory, so.
Well, in factories, they make such a big amount of them that it works just fine for them.
That's good. Charles says he needed some orange paint, so he made some, just a little. Now he has a ball of orange just in case. So what Ashley was doing was you could get the empty little paint bottles. They're like an inch tall or whatever.
They make all different sizes.
They make different sizes. But anyways, she made enough. And I told her, I said, you can't duplicate it again, so you better get it
right the first time.
Because, if you're going to do the body and it's something that goes for the majority of the model, you're going to have to make more. If it's just armor touch-ups or something where you need very little, that's different. But she saved it, so she had the same color again. But then trying to replicate that.
I did those predominantly on our son's game, which was Skyrim. He had me paint all of his guys. So, yeah, I did that quite a bit. And then on some skin tones, when I was doing the Death Guard, I had the same color. And I basically took a permanent marker on each of the bottles. I put 3 drops of this or 1 gold glob of something else. And that's what I did. Other things that we've kind of bought in over the years, our local dollar store, that's where we've gotten all our paint trays. Where are those little ones that Maya uses? Or you use? You have one?
I use them quite a bit.
I say we were all using them, and then the granddaughter kind of took them. But you get like 5 or 6 of them for $1.25. So we use those quite a bit.
Plus, here's the thing: you can wash these. So if you just set them in the sink. Now, I wouldn't say to wash chunks of the paint down the sink, so don't get me wrong, but I would just set them in the sink, let them soak, pick them up while it's wet, just pull off the bigger chunks, and boom, you wash it. You can reuse them over and over, and it's like $1.25 for I think 6 at a time.
I think 5 or 6, yeah.
So you could have, and they're small enough, you can see they don't take up a lot of room on the desk, and you can kind of just have multiple ones out if you need it. I've never needed more than one. I've never had more than 6 paints going on at a time, but
there we go.
It's very that's a tip there for saving some money. You can find some good stuff at your dollar store, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, whatever they're called.
Even Walmart, Target, you can find all this kind of stuff. At one point, I don't have it now because I'm actually using the coffee cup, but this is our granddaughter's, and she puts her paint tray or paint brushes. She has miniatures in it and markers, and it looks like a dice, but use it as a actual holder. I had some beads that I've collected over the years on different, grandkids' necklaces and all that. I just ended up with a whole bunch of them. So I put some of those in there and stick them in, and it works great. Greg ended up, even our granddaughter has them, these little
This is another hobby tip. They come in different colors, but the top.
So I have all my paint brushes. Then you got a little drawer that has, I'm trying to show, a lot of different things. I have flocking in here. I have a bunch of different flocking, some scissors, nail filers, some other little things, and then the bottom one has an even bigger spot that I keep the glues,
tools,
bigger
snips.
tools.
Yeah. And those are locally. You can find them at like
And
Lowe's.
they're magnetic.
Yeah. So they're really pretty nice. They run about $20.
So the granddaughter loved mine. We ended up having to buy hers. If you gotta slide over, babe. Other way. Towards me. Towards me. So if you can see the purple one down right there, that's the granddaughter's. So she does a lot of painting, especially if we want to try to get in here and paint. She'll sit at her desk and actually paint. She's been watching me mix paints, so she's been on a mixing craze.
Yeah, it's just a good little tip for organizing things. I mean, because all of us in the hobby, if you're doing any kind of miniatures or any of that, you're just going to have stuff everywhere. It ends up being a lot. Same thing for, I know Jeff, he does from Hextex, he does Hex Encounter games. So he's got tweezers and he's got things to move his chits around. I'm sure he's got organizational boxes, because I mean, I would, if I was into that, I get some sort of boxes where I could organize my chits within them, especially a lot of those games have god awful amount of chits. But there's just little things that you can do. Charles says, 15 millimeter bottles, I
believe so.
Yeah, they were pretty nice little droppers, and they were very cheap to get a bag of them.
Yeah, it's like a bag of 100 of them.
No, it was 50. I got you 50.
Oh, that's right. You're gonna give me the bigger one.
But you wanted the bigger one. I said, no, but I don't even know where you put them. I know you didn't mix all those.
Oh, I don't know. It got set somewhere and probably thrown away.
But I mean, it was pretty cheap to buy. And another one is, how many are these? I know Charles knows that I've used these, but maybe not everybody else. So when it comes to painting small little things like eyes or whatnot, I will give you one of the tips I've used. I mean, I will sometimes just use a standard toothpick, my favorite is a very long sewing needle.
Yeah, I have a needle on my desk as well.
I've noticed that the paint will kind of roll down that metal, as opposed to the toothpick kind of soaks it up a bit. So if you just use very little, you can do tiny details with a sewing needle or a toothpick if you want to use paint. There's a big trend on just using fine point markers, which is fine. I guess I've never done it, so I'm just showing you that. I know, like I said, Charles knows, because he knew I used needles to do some work on a painting contest a while back for Mini War Mud. And that tends to help. Of course, toothpicks are cheap to buy.
All right, so Charles, Amazon has a 40-pack of 1 ounce disposable bottles with the twist caps on them for $14. So it makes them like 35 cents a piece. Because if you get like war paint, it is an 18 milliliter bottle. So 1 ounce would be what, twice as big as this? I'm assuming, roughly. 30 millimeter for a 10 pack with the little BBs in it, or mixing balls. Which is 30 milliliters for 10 of them for 15, but you get the little BBs.
Yeah, so if you just shop around.
Okay, so 1 ounce is 30 milliliters.
So if you just shop around, you can find little paint bottles really very cheap.
15 milliliter empty plastic disposable. How many are there? 50 of them. And you'll get 3 different bags, one with the bottles, one with the caps, and one with the little topper piece where you can actually squirt it out for $14. That's what you got me the last time. I think these are just bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, they were very nice little paint bottles.
So for $14, you get 50 of them, which makes them 20-something cents a piece, roughly.
Yeah, It depends. I mean, hold on a second here. Charles says that he finally finished 4 giants. Now, this is in 15 millimeter. He primed some female orc warriors in true 15 millimeter, and about 8 more goblins, which are 18 to 19 millimeter. Well, that's okay. I mean, geez, Charles, you're getting a lot done, so you're setting up for another game then, I take it.
Oh, sure, baby.
Where you going?
I have to get that stuff out of the printer. Or alcohol.
Sorry, Ashley's got to.
I'm doing prints.
Doing prints, so she's got to get that stuff
Yeah,
done.
for miniature paintbrush.
They said the goblins were 15s, so true 15 millimeter is 15 millimeter.
We're gonna have to get a new head of these, babe.
A new what?
A new head base that it sticks on.
For the printer?
Yeah, for my printer.
Okay. I like the 15 millimeter figures. They're tinier than 28's easier to paint. So don't get me wrong. Like all my Warhammer stuff and 1-page rules and that's pretty fun size to paint. And 15 millimeter again is probably the lowest I would go for troops. Obviously, you guys know I've got 6 millimeter tanks, armor and whatnot. That's different. Even the planes that they have are kind of cool. I'm not sure how I'd paint little teeny tiny troops like that, but
I won't go any smaller than 15 millimeter troops.
Yeah, I would try, but I wouldn't know. I guess it'd just be one coat. So 15 millimeter troops are pretty nice. I think it works. They work pretty well.
Look, it's all chewed.
What is that?
That's our base or plate. So I need to go get one eventually.
Oh, okay.
So that way it doesn't get any worse.
Hello, Bruce. How are you? Welcome to our little bit of gamer dysfunction. Yeah, hi, cool. We do 40K. You can see if you're watching. Well, you're watching.
This whole top shelf is all 40K.
There's Kill Team Terrain, and then those totes up here. Those are 40K troops, and Ashley has printed 40K over here on the desk.
Hey, they're just too big to put in my tote.
Yeah, they're. So, but she's doing the Tyranids, so she loves her nids.
I can't start.
And some of those are fairly large. But welcome, Bruce. We're glad you're here. What favorite do you like to play with at 40K? I am, as you can see, the banner. Yeah, I am a Smurf boy. Everybody jokes.
He finally admitted it. You all heard him? He admitted it.
Everybody jokes me, but honestly, they do have some badass things, and I like, this is a Victor War suit that I got. It's the only one I got, but it's cool. Then that's my only army. Ashley started out with
Slaanesh. I didn't like them. They sucked.
She didn't care for that. She got Death Guard.
Yep, Greg found Death Guard, which I ended up doing like zombie themed.
She liked zombie stuff, so I said, why don't you try the Death Guard? Because they kind of, have that little bit of feel to them. So she was doing the Death Guard before they kind of nerfed him down. She was extremely difficult to fight. Now you're doing she's doing Tyranids. I work a lot, and this is my weekend relaxation, getting to chit chat with you guys.
I gotta re-put these back on.
I only have the Space Marines. That's the only thing that I am.
Oh, I did take those.
Basically familiar with. Although, hold on, Ash. Although I would like to do some Custodes. I think would be if I was going to do another army.
The Templars, Black Templars. I jacked from you. I started painting. I think they're Black Templars.
Oh, okay. So Chaos Space Wolves. I didn't know they had those. I guess I wasn't paying attention. One of the other people that come on here,
Brother Mythos,
is Mythos, and he's done a lot of Space Wolves. He really likes Space Wolves and Orcs, I think, too, a bit.
I think he has.
Yeah.
Blood Angels. I think he says Blood Angel. Oh no, Sisters. That's what it was. Sisters.
I think he was doing the sisters. I'm sorry, Bruce. I'm not sure. Oh, I just generally play the Space Marines. Ashley is playing the Tyranids. Not necessarily sure what, on some of the. Well, we got friends who have all sorts of different factions, but I'm just your standard Ultramarines. Um, okay, so how long have we been doing the hobby? For many, many years. How long have we been involved in Warhammer? Not so many. We're fairly new to them in the last couple of years. We started playing.
Eight.
We started playing, yeah, towards the end of 8th edition, and then 9th came out, and we barely had to do anything with that, and then 10th. So we're just stopping at 10 because we're not. We don't know enough about it. Like, we enjoy Warhammer, and I really enjoy Kill Team. I like it, but we are by no means experts on it. And but it has been really a cool journey with it. We've learned a lot, and I wish Games Workshop would just settle something and let it be for a bit instead of constantly changing stuff. But it's money for them, so they'll do that. But that's my only faction. Ashley's had a couple different factions, and
I've kind of changed out every once in a while.
My daughter's boyfriend Keegan, he plays the Necrons.
And he just got into the dwarves.
But he's doing
the dwarves and the Necrons.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the dwarves' names are actually. Something dwarves.
Yeah, it seems like they're changing every time I start to get used to gameplay. It's changed. So when it first came out, I mean, I was a much younger person, and I knew about it. And actually, Ashley was working at a place there, sir, where she was working at a hotel front desk for a while, and she was painting. She'd always paint her miniatures. So one day, while the regular guest that was coming in and out of town all the time, he brought her a box of late 80 models,
late 80s,
Warhammer stuff, and just gave it to her and said, "Here, you can have this." So that was pretty cool. So she has some models that are many decades old. Yeah, it just goes too fast for me, Bruce. By the time I learn one edition, because I don't get so, here's our position. So say I play 2-3 times in a given year, I get to do a game. I don't really know it enough before the next codex comes out, and then they change stuff. So, you know what I mean? It makes it a little difficult. Like, I don't know, Star Wars, not Legion, but good grief, X-Wing. They made one change in 10 years, because they added the Force to it. I mean, it's Star Wars, so you need to add the Force. So that was a game that was something you could play, and it didn't really change. Well, you don't play the tabletop much these days. You play second edition. Actually, one of the other channels that jumps in there once in a while is Weird World War II, and he doesn't like the, I guess, the way they place money over the game. So he just stuck with first edition. Oh yeah, you started in the late 80s, probably when it came out. Yeah, so you know a lot more than we do. Over the years, it's more about the game and fun. Yes. So since you're new here, and again, we welcome you. We're glad you stopped by. So me and Ashley are not set into one game. If you see all these shelves, mostly the majority where I started many, many moons ago was mostly in armor, like World War II armor battles. So way back, they had Gale Force 9 made a series of tanks you could get in rules. Did that, then of course they changed it, and then now they have changed it again, and they're doing after tanks the Xbox game. The cost is very high. I will say one thing or two about Games Workshop. I have never gotten a junk model. I've never gotten a model where it was crap. They're always detailed. Even the Space Marines, I like everything is clean and crisp. Their models are nice. Yes, they're overpriced to me. However, I've never gotten any crud models. And eBay you can find very good resource for it. That's the other thing. When you go to resell it, especially like Ashley's painted ones, they retain a very high value. It's not like you don't get some of your money back. She painted up the Slanesh, but then she sold those off, painted, and got the cost of the models back basically. And somebody else got a good deal because they were already painted, already done. They could just play. So I sold off a couple of my Space Marines to try to trim up my force, and it works out very well. So yeah, some of them have too much detail. Some of them they don't need to go to the extreme that they do, and so yeah. And that's one of the things we're talking about. Tips on Bruce is like painting. So sometimes to get detail into small areas, I've used toothpicks or sewing needles. Ashley's customized, makes her own paints sometimes to get the exact color she wants. Me, I mean, I'm just ultramarine, so I stick with ultramarine blue, and that's it. I do their colors and gold on their chest and stuff, and I decal them up. But I just stay with what they are when you open the book. And I haven't kit bashed anything. But there's other models, like One Page Rules. A lot of Warhammer people have been going to them. I checked them out; they're pretty cool. So we have a 3D printer, so I printed up this guy, and you can have fun with their models. They're very detailed. Um, so yeah. But some of the tips we've found because the hobby is expensive is there's some good deals at like dollar stores, Dollar Generals, places like that we get for, well, before you showed up here, where'd it go? Where'd my little paint tray go? Huh. I'll be darned. I don't know how it disappeared.
You just had it.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. So you can go get, things like this to help you paint. They're very cheap, like 6 of them for $1.25. Works very well. I never use 6 paints at a time. They're going to dry out, but oh yeah, they keep the box sets are expensive, and they do keep raising the prices. So with 3D printing, if you look back over here above Ashley's head, you see that little glowing light. That is an Anycubic resin printer. So for printing, so like how I guess what you say, so not official, but like One Page Rules. They release their models, their STLs, the files, extremely detailed, very nice. The models come out very nice. Um, Here's kind of one that I've got on my desk. I don't know if you can see it, but so we do the One Page Rules because it's like Warhammer,
Way simpler.
but simpler. So you would find it very familiar. And of course, they have multiple different factions and whatnot. So the bases are cheap to buy. I don't try printing bases. But the resin, the liquid resin, now it runs about $20 a bottle for that machine. However, you're going to get hundreds of miniatures out of it. It's not like you're going to lose your money. So
let's just put it this way: I printed Greg a 200-point army. I've done myself has right about 1,700.
yeah.
Our son-in-law he's got right about 2,000 as well.
Points,
a little bit more.
Yeah.
Point battles.
So hello, Ice Wolf. How you doing, sir? So Bruce here is new, Ice Wolf, and we were just letting him know. We were just doing some hobby tips, which Ice Wolf, I'm sure, has a ton of hobby tips to share. Pretty sure, because the man that knows a lot about 3D printing too, more than us. So, but on that, Bruce, it's just we got a cheaper one. I guess you can. I haven't printed and sold anything. I basically use the printer to print the miniatures for one-page rules because they're designed that way anyways, and it's way more cost effective to do that. Printing also, I primarily started with like everybody else, make dice towers or terrain. So I have a filament printer in another room, but this is my kids' old game room. So when they grew up and moved out, I kept it that way. And yeah, I haven't printed any Space Marine stuff, so I honestly wouldn't know. I've used it for one-page rules where you get the STLs and you get them by buying them. So I don't. What do I mean by one-page rules? So you'd have to look up one-page rules. It is um, it's a game. It's a lot like Warhammer structure. So you would be able to absolutely just play with it. You would know you can print the rules out. You can print out your factions, and then you can print out your armies. But one-page rules. I'll see if I can look that up here in a minute for you.
You can go. We've done a couple games up on our channel that you can kind of go up and watch if you are kind of interested.
If you hold on a minute there, Bruce, I'll see if I can dig up the page here in a second. Hey, how are you doing, British Legion? Good. Well, good evening to you, sir. Ice Wolf says he's fine. He's got 4 printers for 10 years, and he builds his own for his company he worked for. Are we having strange weather? A little bit, man. It was cold the other day. Like, I was out working, and I had to put gloves on. I'm like, this is dumb, But the areas around us, oof, terrible, terrible damage, and a lot of people have passed away. So Bruce, it's like a lot of people from Warhammer started their own thing, but not with Warhammer models, obviously. So you have like the Human Defense Force, you have some kind of orgs and stuff.
There's a rat group. There's
all
dinosaurs, which that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So you see the other gentleman, Charles, that was posting earlier. He does a lot of just making his own stuff up and going, and he has his pretty good time. Puts out some interesting videos, so check him too. No, you don't need a new edition every 3 years. No. Ashley is back there working for.
I'm here.
She's doing some work for Miniatures Paintbrush, right? Miniatures Paintbrush.
I got them all printed. I just got to clean them up, wash them, and then cure them.
Yeah, she's printing some stuff up for him, and when she's got it all done now, we just had to wait because the screen went out in the middle of it.
Went out.
I'm like, are you kidding me? So then we had to order a screen, and so his stuff's almost done. She's printing up some Titan pieces for him, like aftermarket for a Titan. Almost all games are simpler than 40K. Absolutely, Ice Wolf. 40K is not a game I would try to introduce anybody new to the hobby, and they would have to have some kind of
knowledge,
background gaming to understand some of it. If I was, it wouldn't be standard Warhammer. It would be Kill Team, just because it's a much faster, quicker version. But yeah, that would be it is not a simple game. So yes, one-page rules condenses what you would have to deal with a Warhammer like this down to this, and makes it a very fast, quick game. Ice Wolf is correct. He likes it because he can't play every week 40K, even when he has a good list, because then they change the rules. And so that is an issue. That's why I said we're stopping at 10th. 10th is a good addition. Now, I haven't been doing it for the 35 years it's been out, but it's a good addition. So I'll just stick with that. I'm not going to 11 or 12 or whatever, because enough's enough. I need to be able to learn. I mean, for those of us who don't get to play, say, weekly, you're just not going to get the whole game down. And maybe a drawback for us is, honestly, we play so many games, we're not orientated to one game that you got to try to remember different rule sets also. You play the edition when they use the stat cards and stick with it. Yeah. Um, I like the bigger cards that they came out with. These were cool. And it was instead of because I didn't like flipping back and forth between the book, trying not to because each one of your guys they got all this. So 10th edition is where Greg and Ashley are probably just going to stay parked for a few years and take it for there. Yes, British Legion 10th is a good overall edition. Again, I've got people that tell me they've like Weird World War II. He doesn't play anything. I think it's only first edition. He refused to play anything after that. So, I would just say with Warhammer, if you got a group of friends that you're gaming with and they're all in agreement, then just stick with one edition. Oh, here. Make some.
Yep.
Add some of that. Oh, you're gonna go?
I gotta wash.
So, hey, British Legion. British Legion does a lot of painting, so you could share some tips if you would like, sir. We were doing just hobby tips, and Ashley was sharing how she mixes paint and whatnot earlier in the bottles, where to get them. Oh, you like second edition. Well, they keep fiddling with it, Bruce, and I think they need to stop this. Look, if like when the Tower come out, what the two edition was, the 8th or whatever, not too far back, and they, people wanted the Tau because they made them really hard to beat some of those, but everybody started whining and crying, and I was like, my friend had it, so I'm like, instead of me whining about it, I'm just going to change my strategy on how I fight him with what I got. Why? But there's so much back and forth, and all those people that bought the Tau, then they nerfed all that. Well, as a player, that makes it annoying. You just spent $400 or $500, and boom, now your stuff is no good. And yeah, it's that they if they're going to release something, they say they test play it. I'm beginning to wonder how much they test play it, because honestly, shouldn't you have figured out some of this stuff, especially when they live and breathe all the lore. They know every little detail and nuance of every character and everything. They should know better. Ice Wolf says game workshop's doing better with Fancy. Yep. Hey, Wolf Brother Mythos. We were talking about you. This gentleman, Bruce, that stopped by to say hi. He was talking about the Dark Wolves. I didn't know they had Chaos Space Wolves. So I didn't know that. But then again, like I said, I am not an expert on Warhammer. I know my Space Marines, and I've watched some videos on some of the lore, and I think it's all cool, but I'm not an expert. So you'll have to let me know about that, Mythos. I didn't know either. That's kind of what one-page rules in is, Bruce. Let me see something here. I will, since Ashley stepped out of the room. Hold on a second. So they have an army maker and all that. So just a second. So let me share the screen with you for a second. Oh, Skylar's Dark Wolves Mythos. He says it's old canon. I have not heard of them. So I'm going to share this. Here you go. Hold on. So here's the army I have. They kind of look a little bit like Halo guys. The Human Defense Force from one-page rules. Okay. You can create your own list, your rules. Here's some of your factions. You got some nice tanks. You got artillery, more tanks. Then they released like mini Titans, and then some of them are even smaller, kind of like an Invictor Warsuit type of thing. Um, your guys do have some special. There are some special rules, but that's it. You can play with spells and magic, but honestly, me and Ashley never play our fighting games with spells and magic just because we just want to duke it out. So we keep it to the regular rules and things like that. And so this is kind of something you'd want to type in as just one-page rules, and they have a Patreon. So once you're in the Patreon, you are able to get file. I got my entire force literally free because I was a member. Um, so it's very, very much a cool thing. Mito says he's vaguely aware of them. He's not knowledgeable about them. Well, I just figured I'd ask you, Mythos, because you do Space Wolves and you're very knowledgeable on that. Yep, we'll have to check it out. Ice Wolf says one-page rules are nice. Learn one system and apply to all. And that's what it is. And Bruce says, do they have their own minis? Yes. So they do have their own minis that you can download and print out. That's what I have done. When Ashley comes back in, I'll have her get that one box up there off the shelf. We'll put it down in front of the camera and I'll show you what the miniatures look like. So no, it's not just rules. They have rules and factions. It's just that what one-page rules comes down to is literally a very simplified way to play. It's super easy to play. Anybody coming from the Warhammer universe is going to be able to figure stuff out pretty easy. It's not. You got a group of 10 minis and a lot from eBay and have no idea where they came from? Yeah, that is possible. Hello, Telemachus, sir. Us strange people and dysfunctional people and hobby addicts, say hello back, sir. Charles, you call him Mr. T. That's cool. It should be. Telemachus is it's kind of omnipresent in all the chats. So it's a very fun, easier skirmish. And honestly, what'd you grab? Oh, hey babe, when you're done, are those the pieces? Oh, nice. When you're done, will you grab us the one page? Where's that one page, guys?
Wait, the guys?
The army, aren't they down there?
Behind you.
Oh yeah. Would you, when you're done with that, grab it. We'll put it on your desk.
Those are miniature paintbrushes.
Yeah.
Maya's dice. Whose? Mine or yours?
Mine. That's fine. Yeah, it's the way it should have been, I think. But there's psychology, Bruce, to making a game so complicated that it's insane, because once you figure all that out, you have something to be proud of, right? And now you're hooked. You have overcome all the obstacles of learning all the rules and all the special things that every guy can do, and you can explain it. So it's not, to me, hey, they're just keeping fans by making it difficult, because it's a learn thing. You learn it and then boom. They're pretty smart on their marketing. So here, this will be a way. We'll show you, Bruce, what these figures look like printed up, okay? Here comes the light.
I am printing you right now, but the other guy of this one.
So
Walker.
Okay, so Bruce, I do like I haven't played the Apocalypse type of, where you've got thousands and thousands of points on the table. I've seen some massive games. Not only do I not have the money for that, I don't have the time. And I do like regular Warhammer Edition. We play it. The reason I like Kill Team is you're going to do it in 4 turns. So it's not something that's going to take a long time. It's quick to the point that makes you get it going. So it's you have a lot of troops. I've seen people with tens. One guy, I can't remember his name. I think Mythos, He's real popular on the internet, but he's got rooms dedicated to each faction. He's got like 200,000 points. But the guy has god awful amounts of money too. You can't just coming up with 1,000 point army is kind of expensive. Imagine 100,000 point army. You know. So here, I'm going to switch this over because I guess that would fall under a tip. 3D printing. It's cheaper to print your own things.
Hold on
a second here. We're gonna.
I think we've done maybe $40 worth of resin and got
you're
a
just
buttload of miniatures.
You're just gonna get way more. There's just literally no way around it. So I'm gonna add this one. Hold on. I'm gonna change the camera for you, and then we're gonna make this bigger here. Rogue Trader Edition, yeah. Okay, so I don't know what you can see.
All right, so this is from our filament printer. So it was gray, and then we painted out to.
So hold it up. That is the ruler for them that you can use. Ashley did all the painting.
No, you painted most of it. I just did the details.
No, I did. I had the gold and everything on there.
Yeah, that's what I said. You did predominantly the painting. I did the details.
There's a lot of your Space Marine colors and stuff. And I used the Russian green
primer
from Vallejo, which is
surface primer.
Yeah, and I just kept it that way because it's a good color green. So all my army is base coated in that now. So here's just a couple of them.
This was a resin printer, or not resin, filament printer. This was from Keegan's.
There's one tank. But like the guys, you can show them.
Now these are all resin printer that came from the one that's back there working.
Yes, this is all resin printed.
So there's another one of these guys, but it's going to be a different pose. Because this guy looks like he's running and going to fall over. It was just a bad pose they ended up getting. So there's a new one.
So yeah, 8x4 table on a Saturday night after high school, that would be cool. But even an 8x4 table, like Ice Wolf has the chance to play big armies, a 2-day game. And that's pretty nice. Here locally, literally a couple miles from us is a game hobby store, and there's some artillery, by the way, that printed. Just turn it slow. Can I zoom in more?
It starts blurring.
It'll start to blur a little bit there. So that's awesome, Ice Wolf, that you have the ability to do that. Okay. So in the end, let's get a regular figure. You got to back him up a little.
This camera
doesn't have a zoom, but that all printed as one piece. The banner and everything. There's no glued pieces. That's how it printed.
Where is your big boy?
I've already kind of
showed it.
Well,
that way it shows detail.
Whoa.
Okay, hold on.
Don't break everything.
Move all the granddaughter's toys.
Yeah, the arm. See the detail that the printer will do on the arm? See that? Your magazine pouches, a rope, and all that stuff.
There's more magazine pouches.
Good grief, Telemachus. That's cool. He says he was dumb and it was fun.
This was printed as one piece other than the gun.
Telemachus, that's not dumb, man. That's just having fun. If you could start at noon and go to 10 o'clock, that's hella cool. That's not dumb. I just see the problem is the whole adult thing is a trap, and you lose the ability to do it.
This was one I was gonna do, but it's a different kind of like where you have the regular,
it's like an
Age of Sigmar.
So look at that.
This is one that I've painted.
So yeah, so that's what the resin printer is capable of doing.
Because it's even got the textured fur.
Yeah. It's different now that we're adults, yeah. So I have less time, and the rest of them know Sundays are
There's
just.
even a little hitchhiker.
Oh yeah, there's a little guy there.
Uh, that's one.
You should have grabbed one of those over there. The dino.
Oh. Now this guy is actually heavy because I didn't hollow him out. This is my new guys.
Now that is one page rules. She painted that.
This is like my take, basically.
It kind of reminds me of the N64 Turok paint job. Charles plays mostly with Dragon Rampart.
Okay, so here's a Warhammer figure that was 3D printed.
For the Tyranids.
That's my Tyranid Screamer Killer.
Well, it's an offshoot. It's not an official. Dang, Mythos, you got to spend the entire day at the game store playing 40K. You lost the game and then won the next. Awesome. The entire day. See, it's good to do that once in a while because as we get to be adults and get older and stuff, it's just dumb that work takes all of our time, right? Too cool for school, British Legion says. That's right.
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah,
so I have a bunch more of these guys to paint.
That was a big boy there. So that's what you can do.
I finished another one.
Bruce had asked you guys about what's the 3D printer for. So all of ours are not, like one page rules. They sell you the STLs or you give them away, but they get them. They're pretty cheap. And if you're a Patreon, it's literally free.
Yeah, some are. These ones are mine.
So here's more 3D prints. Okay, of course we put them on bases, and you can buy the bases cheap.
I had to get a rah-rah. I'm obsessed with dinosaurs.
Tyranid models, yeah. Ice, well, she loves her Tyranids.
My aliens, yeah.
And matter of fact, Keegan will not.
He refuses to play against them.
He will not play against her playing Tyranids. He told her she's not allowed to play Tyranids anymore. He won't game with her. So.
Because they're almost.
If you use them right, man, they're pretty. But so the detail on them will come out. So these prints are very nice. Those STL files you get are very nice.
I started this one.
Yeah, those are not finished there.
Nope. I'm going to paint these little guns because they kind of look like the Halo needle ones. Yeah. This was off of our filament printer as well that I ended up painting. That's this group's.
When I see that, honestly, I only think of the movie Jumanji, and I don't know why.
It's jungle theme, yes.
I guess, I don't know.
So I'm keeping kind of like the black theme and the green. So that's why black armor with the green kind of offsets. Red spikes, blue spikes for the figures. But these are all like, this group is more reptile based. Because these are gecko snipers that I haven't even painted up yet. Geckos, alligators. These guys are like Transaurus. Wow.
Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone's with like a Warhammer. Hammer type of thing.
I think these are the veterans.
Hello, iDoc. How are you, sir? I've not seen you for a while. Of course, we haven't done a live for a while on Podbean either.
Then you got just regular lizards. But there's other ones. There's frogs. There's a couple other ones. I just haven't had the money to be able to buy more of the prints. So.
Glad you're doing okay, sir, Mr. iDoc. Glad to hear it. So you're talking about the Tyrellians and 40K, Bruce? Yeah. So anyways, that's what you can do with 3D printing. You literally can print your own stuff. Now, I wouldn't be printing copyrighted stuff or anything like this. These are all off-brand,
Offshoots
or this is all one-page army roll. So you can see I got an entire cupcake box, which is what I use for storage. It's pretty good storage. And then if you want to see the scale of some of this, here's this tank was printed on the resin.
Oh, yeah. Your big boy, your super tank.
It's called a super tank, but it's you have to put that down.
So I had to print this in pieces. So this was a piece, this was a piece, this was a piece.
Slow down when you show it off, though, because like it's literally...
The whole main hull was a piece, and then I had to print both front and back. So these have been glued in and been sitting for a while, but
this is a big tank, man.
but this is all resin. These were printed.
Hello, White Cody. How are you? We are just chit-chatting about, hobby tips and fun stuff. Basically, 3D printing at this point.
We did have to either shave this out a little bit or shave this out for it to fit and be able to turn. It's just a little snug.
It needs to be, but a little bit of filing. So, but you see the detail on that. And gentlemen on Podbean, we're doing a live show on YouTube, so we're just kind of showing those miniatures off there. Feel free to check it out if you want. It'll save once it's done too. But
I'm trying to get as much detail without it. Basically.
So we just got to find a camera. And Mythos knows. Poor Greg is really irritated. I used to have a nice camera with a adjustable lens, and I cannot find a webcam where you can sit there and turn the lens anymore. So I don't know.
Got it. That is a very heavy piece. Brother Mythos sent us some off-brand or off-character, basically, for like guys. So let me pull. I can't get them out from under my desk.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So
come here. Come here.
Sure. White Cody says, "Can I call in?" Call in. Try it. Let's see. It's been a while since someone's called in, because we haven't had a chance to do a live one.
Yep. Brother Mythos sent us this file, so I printed him out.
See, I use Space Marine paint on him now. He's got nice claws. He's a really just
which one this
bad
was
looking individual. Heavy duty.
Yep.
So thank you, Mythos. Green. That was cool.
These little guys, I gave one to my granddaughter. They're little phone holders. We're all resin printed. So here's a little dragon dinosaur, but they're like keychains, so there's a hole you can put an actual ring through it. But yeah. There's a cat one as well, but the granddaughter took that one. This was 3D printed. This was also a one-page rule figure that I ended up snipping off and kind of patching a little bit. Some of like the extras that they had on him. Some bells, some knots, some rope and all that, but it came out pretty good looking. So there's a couple spots on here I want to go and try to figure out how to make like tufts of grass or something like it was running through a field. So that's still a work in progress.
Yep. That's right, Mythos. I'm sorry I couldn't remember which one, but the Brutalis Dreadnought.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah, punch somebody with it? Yeah, that would be great in a game. Yeah, it's a very heavy model, too, even when you print hollowed
out.
This
was another one he sent me. This was more for my Tyranids. So... So there's that one.
You ordered some Nurgle frogs thinking they were small, and they ended up being like 10 centimeters across. Huge, yeah.
And this one. I ended up putting his arm on wrong. So that it was lopsided. So what I did was took an extra piece of Warhammer, guys, that we had, which looks like an arm with a pistol, and basically shoved it underneath him, and it leveled him out.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
So,
you know what? That'd be scary as an abomination in Zombicide.
yeah. These guys are solid resin, so they're pretty heavy.
So there you go. When you ask what you can do with it, and then you can do fun, goofy things like this. That actually has a Mario dice tower.
This was filament printed.
Yeah, those proxies do work good for the Tyranids because they're a biomass, right? They can. That's a dice roller, by the way.
This moves. So with the resin, you can't do the moving pieces, so I ended up having to break it and release these, and then basically glued it back together, and I just put a little piece, which we forgot to spray paint, but it works, no one sees it, but these move now.
But that's a dice roller, so we use that on with our armor games and stuff.
The granddaughter loves playing with this dice tower.
So the thing is, you can pretty much print whatever you want as long as you're not printing copyrighted stuff, which we don't do, nor would we encourage you to do.
Jess, you're in a
It's
bad
just that's pretty good though. It works out pretty good.
And the nice thing about these cases, they actually can stack on top of each other.
Yeah. So that's a tip I showed them before. Those are cupcake containers.
Cake and cupcake carrier is what it's called.
From the Big Blue store. And, they're $12 and you get cupcake pan inside. So, hey, gamers got to eat. So, you got a cupcake pan. But the bottom is completely flat and the case is locked on all four corners of the handle. And then you can stack the cases and lock them together. And I'm like, looking for stuff, online to put my armies in, and here you go. You just have to go in the bakery aisle, and boom, you got something. So there you go. Hope that helped a little bit.
All right, go ahead and shut this camera off.
Shut off. Yeah.
Move it out of the way. What I do have as well is a clip-on fan to help dry things. But yeah, just a fan. I think I ended up getting it from Walmart. Got an extra light, clip-on light. That's actually what we were using to paint with quite a bit before we got the lights that are above our desks now.
Yeah, I just don't tend to turn this one on when I'm talking because.
And you say mine's bright.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so there's a tip for you there. You can print your own miniatures pretty cheap, even if it costs you $20, like it does for ours for the resin these days. That's for a liter bottle, and it prints an awful lot. The only thing with 3D printers is we had to replace the screen once, right? In 2 years. And what'd you just replace now?
The screen.
Again?
Yeah, the bottom screen. So with ours, after it's 200 times it goes down and the light hits it, you have to change it. And I guess I was off on my count. So it just would not stick to that plate. So we ended up having to wait for new ones to come in. So miniature paintbrush, if you're watching this or seeing it after fact, your pieces are printed. I just got to let them completely dry first because I just finished washing them. Then I will cure them and they will be out to coming to you.
Yep, probably Wednesday.
Wednesday or Thursday, yeah.
Yep, I'll get paid Tuesday night. Yeah, so that's the thing, Ice Wolf, is that case, I know it was designed for cupcakes, but the bottom's completely flat. So if you want to put magnetized sheets down, and I have
you did that with your Warhammer.
In my other one, yeah, most of my Warhammer models, under the bases, there's magnets. And then, it holds it right in there. But most importantly, the thing has 4 lockable corners, each side and each end. and then a handle. You can't beat that. And if things are magnetized inside, they're not going anywhere unless you're violently flinging it around. But just general movements, they don't even move. And then if you stack them, you can stack 2, 3, 4. They're all going to lock together. So for gaming, it's like, wow, it's in the bakery aisle and it's $12. That's not like it's,
Which now, we might need to go get a couple more for our tanks. But
no, what we need to do is make some freaking cupcakes because
now you want cupcakes?
I have all these cupcake pans and we don't make
any. No, our daughter took a couple.
We'll have to do.
She's a teacher at a daycare, so she daycares 2 or 3-year-olds. So she's gonna figure out something for like Lego blocks or something to put them in or something. But she's gonna plan on using those.
Oh, you're welcome there, Bruce. We're just trying to show you a little bit. So, and
Tips
again,
and treats.
Yeah, but there's all sorts, and everybody here has shared painting tips over the years, and just kind of go back and forth. But we've got quite a few new people in the last 4 or 5 months, so we just kind of wanted to try to go over some of the little things and get your guys' suggestions. You know what I mean? And we all try to save money in the hobby, so yeah. You have a dystopian war game, 20mm. You keep them loose in the box, Ice Wolf. Yep.
We do that with what the hell? What is that game?
I don't know which one.
Zvezda. All those tanks are up in a box.
Tulica says use luggage straps and totes. Awesome.
Hey, we've used totes all when we first started.
You can see right there.
These are the shoe boxes.
Those are the dollar store totes. There's bunches of them there, and Ashley cut out, the craft foam blocks
when they were cheap,
because they used to be real cheap, and so she put in there and just trace out the tank, and then you just razor it out. Well, you could get pluck foam, but this is just way cheaper.
Hey, we're trying to keep them where they wouldn't fall apart.
It does make it easy to carry. Actually, Keegan has, but of course it's Keegan. He's got a Milwaukee stackable toolbox like you use in the trades on wheels. So he can put very big stuff in the bottom, and as it goes up, it's designed obviously for tools, but it's got a handle. So you can pull literally anything you need to go gaming with pretty much anywhere.
He does, yeah. I think he carries all his books, dice. He just got a Flash Forge. Right? Is that
the printer.
Yeah, a new printer, and he's been designing or talking to someone who designed him like things that go inside like little holders that he can customize or something, and they just like literally move. They're like on not springs but like arms, like a tool fishing box.
Yeah.
That he's been doing.
Everybody's found ways to, because if you go to try to buy what they sell as game, the game cases and all that, a lot of it's expensive, and when you've got a lot of miniatures, it adds up. So we try to store ours as safely as we can, obviously, once they're put together, because nobody wants broken miniatures.
No.
But it's all about just trying to take care of those. Oh, no, I don't know why. There we go.
Me and Greg have been talking about actually getting like a corner hutch, so we can take some of our bigger guys that we want to make sure we keep and display.
Well, just prints that you have in general, or I have above me the coffee cup collection from everybody who's got mugs like we do. So we have our own Gamers of Coffee mugs there, Bruce. So I also got one from like Mythos there.
Actually, we got 2 from Mythos.
2 from Mythos. And IDC beer, right?
Yep, IDC beer, Mini Warma, and Modeling for Advantage. And Lingsters.
Yep.
As well.
So rehabbing minis, sometimes you can do, but it's not. They've kind of cornered things to where, I mean, it's almost just close to the price point just to go get them. Like we were talking about earlier, Games Workshop is on the price here, and although I've never got a bad model from them. Their stuff is really nice. Do I think it's overpriced? Of course it's overpriced. But I'm not getting gypped either. I'm not paying $45 or $50 for a box and then getting, cheesy models. I think if they did that, they would just
They would
cut their own throat on that one. So yeah, would not be good for them. But so far, it kind of is what it is. All my Warhammer stuff is GW stuff. Mythos was kind enough to send us the file for that.
It just says
so I could proxy him in.
Yeah, well, you couldn't really win against my guy, so he had to give you something you could proxy in.
We're in a secure brick basement. Go move our brick. Watch this. Watch this, Bruce. Ah! Yeah, it's just a fake brick.
It's a wall.
I ordered that to put up there because this is the kids' room. They all grew up and moved out.
And left some of their stuff here.
You can see on the ceiling they have Dead Space and all these things going to.
Each of the walls have a different game theme.
Yeah, so we kept it as the game room, and just so this is where we can play, this is where we can build, this is where we do our podcasts and show here from, and that was supposed to be longer to cover it all the way to the floor. But I guess I checked the wrong box. I got the one shorter than what I thought I had ordered. Is it a nice brick wall? If you sit there and take a picture and nobody knew, you look like you're standing in front of a brick wall. You're in a tornado prone area. Where's that? Because we live in Iowa. So there are tornadoes out here and around us. There's a lot in the States. There's lots of damage. So this is a mobile home. We don't have a basement. When the sirens go off, and several people have seen us in the middle of shows, have to leave sometimes. He's all you got me. Thought it was real. Then it's just we go up here to the mail room because it's solid block, and we kind of us and the rest of the tenants out here kind of huddle in there. That's about it. There's nowhere
Southern
really to
Illinois.
go.
So he's not far from us.
Where's he at?
Southern Illinois.
Oh yeah.
So 5-6 hours probably.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how far are you from Illinois or Chicago?
So Chicago would be a reference for us from where we're at. It's about 4.5 to 5 hours if we were to drive from here to Chicago. I mean, that would count stopping and taking a restroom break, or if you find a taco stand or you need a coffee or whatever. Tornado Alley has broadened all over the Midwest, sir. It's everywhere. Yeah. When tornadoes happen, you're best to pay attention to the sirens. A lot of people ignore them.
Just watch the weather.
Yeah. If you see the leaves on the trees starting to blow up, they're doing this.
Hold on. We'll do this.
That's some highly unstable air. It's either left, right, they blow. They don't float like this. See. That's a lot of updraft. You're in Carbondale?
Hold on.
Oh, I've been out that way. I know I have because I recognize that name.
Carbondale, Illinois.
From us.
Directions, your location. 6 hours, depending on which road you take.
Yeah, you're about 6 hours.
6.5 hours, roughly.
Now, Ice Wolf's a little bit further away. He lives in the Netherlands.
Just a little.
Netherlands, So you don't have any.
Where the hell is Netherlands?
Hello, George. Welcome and here to the Podbean studio. How are you?
There you are.
Now the three little pigs would be alive and well in the Netherlands. Yeah. Ice Wolf's basically in a protected area. So just if you're not used to it, take the sirens seriously. There are people who, oh, well, nothing's going to happen to me, and then they lose their house.
So taking an airplane, it would take us 11 hours just to get to the Netherlands.
11-hour flight to come visit Ice Wolf? I should be able to take a nap. You served a meal.
It says starting at $1,100 or $2,100 for a one-way ticket.
Might be able to get there, Ice Wolf. I don't think I'd be able to come back.
No, we wouldn't be able to come back.
So, That's a $2,100 for a plane ticket, huh?
22. Yeah, basically. Cedar Rapids to
Amsterdam.
Yeah, Netherlands. I'm assuming that's the only airport. Maybe, I don't know.
Ooh, that's over a lot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's. Yeah, the one thing about Ashley is if you say something, she's gonna try looking it up. Hey, Doc. Have a good evening, sir. Thank you for coming by. Um, we're doing a Podbean
Through the phone.
live stream, so I'm talking to them too, you guys, as we go. And for those of you, I know iDoc just left. For the others that are there, we're doing a live show on YouTube, so everything we talk about, we're trying to share with you guys also. I don't know. So that's another tip. Keep your miniatures safe because they cost money, man. Yeah, we're not headed off to Amsterdam, Bruce. So not yet, anyways. Now Canada, we could do that. We could just drive up there.
That's a 7-8 hour drive.
Show up.
Just up to
12.
the
I
border.
thought it was the word Moffat. Annex.
Annex, yeah, it's like a 12-hour drive, but just to get to the border, it's like 8 hours, I think.
You live between two big rivers. Yeah, you said it was kind of a smaller area there, right, Ice Wolf? It wasn't a big area. I mean, after a while, the chair gets uncomfortable. So that's the cool thing with the internet. We can talk to everybody who's everywhere. Yeah, it sounds like he's flood prone. So for here, I don't think we are.
Let's see. Oh, I have to pick a place in it.
Go back to the chat. But
Reese!
hello, Reese. How are you? Empire 54 Bruce is a good guy also. He does 54 millimeter primarily is what he likes to do. Geography in 40K. Yep. Ooh, you're below sea level? Okay. Well, hopefully no earthquakes or anything out there in the ocean.
Bruce, we don't stick onto one thing very well. We usually end up bouncing a lot.
Well, we've been having subjects the last couple times, but
it's still, and after an hour or so, it goes off.
Once we're done with the subject, we tend to kind of go.
He just got back from Hawaii.
He did?
The hell, Reese? Why didn't you take us?
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm not sure. My luck would be good enough, guys, to go to a volcano that sits in the middle of the ocean.
I have a grandmother and aunt that lives out there.
Yeah.
Not quite sure what island, but she's out there somewhere.
Yeah. You're not going to fight nature and generally win. That's why, I mean, they try, but take your storm warnings, at least seriously. Don't blow them off, and just do accordingly what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, we were always cautioned, and with the derecho that hit us a few years ago, anymore we watch storms like a hawk.
Well, that derecho that hit us several years ago came out of nowhere, and you had about
not even.
I don't even think there was 15 minutes from the time that storm formed. The sirens went off almost immediately before it got here.
Yeah.
You really didn't have much time, and it was 50% loss of trees in the area for 700-mile long storm. And
wow.
You're reclaiming them. 2/3 of the country is below sea level. Well, Ice Wolf, I don't know.
Nope, I'm good.
It
I'm
all
okay
depends
with
on how big the
where
waves
I
are.
live right now. Because, I mean, if it starts to majorly flood, it would take, I think, like 28 days for it to flood where we are. And it has to flood everything around us to get to us.
Bruce says he was in Guam for work a couple summers ago after Typhoon Malor. It was not an enjoyable experience. No,
No.
probably not. A lot of damage and stuff. And what's interesting is so much happens these days that people just go, eh. And they don't pay attention because the destruction's just ongoing. And they're so used to numbers. When someone says 1,000 people died, no one blinks. I mean, but that's a lot of people to die, or 100 people, or we're just so used to hearing catastrophes and high numbers that kind of become numb to it or conditioned to it. And unfortunately, that's a downfall, I think, too, because people are just generally under the impression that it will never happen to them. And that's, everybody knows it doesn't work that way, but it doesn't stop. People just don't take it serious, especially out here. I think derecho woke them up because, our area doesn't generally get hammered. But this last storm last week, when a lot of places around us, just in our county, there were multiple funnel clouds that were starting to come. So things are changing, and a lot of it is not laughable. So we don't like panic and go overboard, but we certainly make sure of the surroundings and what's going on, for sure. Guam's our Iron Dome. It's our first line of defense in the Pacific. Unless they miss. I mean, I don't know. Lots of interesting stuff. Lots of interesting stuff. But there you go, you guys. We were trying to share some tips, and but as usual, we like to.
You know who hasn't gotten on yet? And we're already an hour and a half into it?
Who?
Mutt.
Yeah, Mini Warmutt hasn't jumped on, but it was his anniversary the other day, too.
Okay, and?
So he's probably.
We shared our anniversary with everyone. Why can't he do it with us?
Is that what you put on OnlyFans?
Screw you.
Oh, you're talking about the game, yeah.
No, we came back. We were here on our anniversary. Last Sunday was the 11th, babe. Right? It was last Sunday
So
or 2
Bruce
Sundays
says Navy, Air Force,
2 Sundays
Space
ago.
Force, which is just funny to me. And the Marines are getting kicked out of Okinawa, huh? That's weird. They've been in Okinawa forever, and they're going to go to Camp Blaze on Guam. Okay. Well, they'll just do what they got to do from Guam then, I guess. So I don't know. ISIL says they flooded a fifth of it on purpose to protect the country from Napoleon around the 1800s. Bruce says, anyhow, what gets him is the kilometers high cities in the 40K world that go above the clouds. That idea is that the structure would be too heavy to support tether. Well, the one kind of thing that, so you look at Dubai, their skyscrapers go up above the clouds. And with Warhammer, they have an intentionally fractured universe, Bruce, which is a good selling point because at any time, anywhere, something can come out of the warp that nobody ever heard about, right? So at any time, they can just introduce a whole nother faction with a whole nother story. They've pretty much left it open so that you never know. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sure they got more anti-grav tech these days than we know about. But hey, that's a whole different show, right? the 40K universe is pretty interesting, and it's pretty terrifying, to be honest with you. It's not a positive place to be, I guess. Imagine that, Marines being kicked out of Okinawa for being unruly, but that's part of what makes them Marines, right? Now the Space Force, I really don't know what to think about that. When they came out with that, I was like, okay, let's see. I mean, it doesn't make even any sense to me, but Marines are always a little unruly. But they need to be for their job, man. Yeah, I made a little intro, Bruce, that kind of I thought was a little funny for some of ours, and it's like, in the future, there is only war and coffee, because honestly, coffee would keep you going in war. I mean, right? So that's kind of was a goofy little intro I make. Sometimes I'll put it on my videos when I put it out. Yeah. But 40K for sure is grim. Charles says it's been 80 years. Maybe it's time to pull them out. Yeah. I mean, some of the land they keep where they're at, certain bases and things they need. I mean, it's become apparent we're too spread out everywhere, and they need to kind of really pull back on some things. An entire continent. That would be interesting. You see it in the movies and stuff, the iron domes, gold domes, dome this, dome that. Small areas, I agree with you, would be literally something that they could do in small confined areas, but not over a vast expanse, at least that they have told us about, because lots of what you hear and see today is old tech. That's why we're allowed to know about it. There's always something way beyond what we know about. That's pretty much how it's always been. Charles says he thought that he saw a video saying they were repairing or upgrading the runways there, because Bruce was talking about the new Marine base in Guam. Yeah, I have not followed that. Nice. I like Mythos Wolf Brother Hobbies. It's in 40K coffee. It's called Recast. It's officially in universe as a staple for 40K citizens and soldiers. Fantastic.
Huh.
That's interesting, Bruce. Archaeological work. I've done construction my whole life and worked on all sorts of places. Generally, archaeological digging doesn't have to do with expansions and or installations, unless they found something in their digs and then they built the installation around it, which happens. Ice will fall. Maybe the world will already be destroyed before we get a dome. Yep. I mean, that's why we turn to things like games to just kind of relax and ease the stress. Yeah, Bruce, it is pretty much so. There's a lot going on under that particular last sentence of your post. More so. You've been an archaeologist for 25 years. Dan, I'm sure you know about things we don't, because that's just what others have said. They find something, it gets buried or taken and doesn't go to public. And it's just always been that way. Lots of stuff. That's what I'm saying. I've been in construction. They don't generally need archaeologists when they're digging trenches to pour forms and whatnot. So if they have archaeologists there, then it's because it has nothing to do with them building. They're literally building to cover up whatever they're finding. Go figure. Yeah. Well, maybe what they need to do, Bruce, these days is just funnel some money over to us gamers so we can expand our gaming. Maybe we should all open up a petition, right? Hey, the hobby's getting expensive. So can we dip into the slush funds and divert some over here to the hobby industry?
Just the egg money back.
That would be fun. I don't know, man. Crazy times, crazy world. We just try to stay having some fun with the family and friends and everybody here on our show. Pretty much almost everybody we consider family. We've known a lot of everybody that showed up for a long time. All good people. They all have good channels. I'd say check them out too, Bruce. All of them, and they all have different things to offer. So that's kind of when the world gets all cruddy and depressing. We tend to just try to do our best to have a little fun. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, you find a lot of Roman stuff up there. So if I've been watching online where people have posted videos, and sometimes they get taken down a day or two later. You know, they're digging for construction, and they find stuff, old buildings or things break away, temple stuff, and so then they bring in archaeologists to expand on that, and they'll stop digging or whatnot. And Matt Telemachus says a hobby research grant. Absolutely. We need to study the effects on gaming online, Telemachus, with fellow hobbyists in this kind of environment. And there's not been any research on that, but I'm sure it'd be for the better of mankind. And I think we should petition that. I mean, it can't hurt, right? So either way, yeah, Bruce. Then I'm just gonna say your work's gonna keep you busy. So busy, 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 and interesting. I'm sure too. My work keeps me busy. It's just kind of dull. Um, Holy cow! You had to survey 18,000 acres. You know, I wish I could sit here and even come up in my mind and go, I'm gonna buy 1,000,000 acres. I mean, you got to have money to do that, right? Unless you're just taking it, but that's a phenomenal amount of acres to just survey at once. But I don't know. There's all sorts of stuff. But I think Telemachus is right. A hobby research grant. We should really try for that.
That'd be nice.
Hobby effects, hobby after effects of Rochambeau. He says hobby effects of. We could do multiple studies in different directions, Telemachus. How does not enough sleep affect your strategy? How does whatever? We could come up with something. We just need the grant money. An expansion of Fort Irwin in California. That place is huge, man. I won't get into anything other than I worked out there for a while, and it was a damn big base. Um, Lots and lots of room. I didn't know exactly how big it was. They're going to expand that. That's huge. It was huge to begin with. It was always kind of funny seeing the tank crossing, symbols and watch out for when they're doing their exercises and whatnot. But yeah, that place was already massive to begin with. To expand that, I can't really imagine. Yeah, that's always been a testing area out there. I lived quite a while in California, and I finally escaped it, or got out of there. Well, Ice Wolf says the Netherlands has about 100,000 acres, and that includes land and water. Yeah, and they're talking about expanding one particular spot by 1 million acres. That's an already existing spot, Ice Wolf. So that's why I thought it was always kind of cool when people would come over here and they'd land at the Cedar Rapids Airport, which a lot of businesses come out here for conventions. I never knew until I moved out here. Oh, for the training? Well, yeah, they needed something before they went in there. That is a massive amount of work. Well, it's still a lot of space, Bruce, even if it's an average project. 18,000 acres, when the average person is dreaming of just buying 1 or 2 acres, that you talk to, man, I wish I could afford to buy 2 acres to just have a place to go camping. And you're like, we do 18,000 acres all the time. See what I mean? It's just the disparity. And if you don't have the money, then you're not going to be able to reach them. That's huge. That's a lot of land to survey, sir.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Well, there you go. There's always a need for something. One day, Ice Wolf, maybe we'll be able to afford two, four, six, $8,000 to come out there round trip.
And then we need money to live.
Then I would need
food.
money for a hotel or whatever they have out there. And what kind of restaurants do they have again over there? What's a good local dish that you would recommend?
Oh, Charles wow, says, Charles.
Do the hotels in Iowa, instead of putting a candy on your pillow, do they put an ear of corn?
No, it's a soybean.
A soybean? That would probably out here cost you more. I don't know. You can get an ear of corn one at a time at the store. There's a lot of people just barbecue it out here. The sweet corn, they'll just throw
Wait,
it on
if that's
grill.
the case up in Texas where Mythos is, do they put a slab of meat on it?
I don't know, but if that's the case,
I'm going to Texas.
Yeah. So I don't know, Charles. That's a good question. I haven't seen any. I don't think we've. The only hotel we stayed in once was. Didn't we stay? We stayed in one of the casino hotels.
Waterloo.
Yeah, Waterloo.
And they didn't have any candy or anything like
that. There was
that.
no candy. It was one of those specials, where you get it like for $70-$80 or something for the night. But that was a long time ago. Generally, I haven't stayed at really any hotels here in Iowa because I live out here. But if I traveled, like when we went to the gaming convention, then you'd stay in hotels. That's cool that you found some Native American finds that you got that could have experienced there.
Oh, wow.
2 ears, but not corn, just 2 ears. No, Telemachus, that would be a different.
That's a horror hotel. Look at Mythos.
Mythos says we get a slab of smoky brisket wrapped in butcher paper on the pillows. Ooh, smoked brisket.
No, you're not going to Texas because you and Mythos, because me and Lily would have to figure out a way to bail you two out.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we could do covert
because you're
gaming.
hobbying would get you in trouble.
Not really. Wow, man. Bruce says he found 2 different arrow shaft caches. So that'd be a lot. Pots, basketry, pictographs. Nice. So that's cool. It's too bad they don't share a lot of things with the public, but.
What is bitter ballin'?
What is a bitter ballin'? I'm kind of afraid to ask, Ice Wolf. Much cultural foods. Well, we're pretty fancy out here. We eat lots of chicken. Lots of chicken. Sweet corn. The regular foods in Iowa that are extremely popular are tenderloins.
It's a meat based snack. It's a Dutch meat based snack.
Oh, it's a meat-based snack. I actually looked up, but what kind of meat? I mean, like, what is it?
Stew thickened with beef stock, loaded with meat,
Huh.
refrigerated stew. So it's a giant meatball, is what it is.
So out here, there's a lot of the same types of food. Charles says, Ashley, why would you bail him out at least not right away? There, Charles is right. If me and Mythos ended up in jail.
No, because me and Lily would be kicking both of their butts.
But you would then have peace and relaxation, and we would get free meals and exercising, right? Ice Wolf says it's a small fried ball with really hot something. That's right, Mythos. You are a good boy. Perfectly well behaved. We would be the upstanding epitome of the hobby world. We would just put nothing but professionalism.
Main ingredients: correct? Beef or veal. Meat minced or chopped. Beef broth, butter, flour for thickening, parsley, salt and pepper, nutmeg, and cumin powder.
That sounds good to me. I'll try it.
Or adding a finely chopped vegetables such as carrots.
So it's
a giant
meatloaf in a ball.
Basically, yeah.
He says they're small and fried.
That's what it looks like. It's just there's a picture of it.
It sounds good, Ice Wolf. I'll just tell you that from the ingredients she says.
It looks like mush. But if everything's such finely diced up.
But that's how you mix it in.
Yeah, say rolled in balls roughly 3 to 4 centimeters in diameter. So I don't know, probably a quarter size.
Yeah, so standard out here, like I said, is they do like a lot of bratwurst out here and things like that. But they also will eat a lot of venison too, which is way better than beef as far as what you're eating. It's interesting because they're also very high tech out here. That's all I can say. I mean, there's people that think Iowa doesn't have the internet, but they are sadly mistaken because it's all about having the latest tech gadgets. I'm seeing more and more of the Tesla trucks running around.
You mean the coffins?
Yeah, the trucks. The trucks.
They look like coffins!
Yeah.
I've been watching too much TikTok.
Yeah. He says they're small, like one bite, like 1.5 inches, but they stay really hot for a very long time. Well, yeah, because you fried them.
You fry them, and then the meats and all that would keep the heat pretty good.
And poor Ice Wolf, he was politely earlier, well, I don't have room at my place. So we wouldn't try to stay at your place. If we got out there, Ice Wolf, we would see, do you guys sell camping stuff? Can we like just pitch a tent somewhere in a local park? And people wouldn't know what to do. Oh my God, those people from America, from that Iowa place, they're like vagrants. They're camping in the park. Telemachus, that's hysterical. Iowa has no internet. It's just a phone line everyone taps into from the next state over. Yep. I was joking. A friend of mine, he was having trouble with the internet. And I said, you got to stop trying to steal it from McDonald's, man. You're way too far away. Trucks are not allowed there because of a safety issue.
Well, they probably have a lot of hills. Trucks are heavy.
I don't know.
Or are we talking about the Tesla trucks?
Oh, the Tesla? Yeah, I wouldn't buy one. That's all I can say. I won't say much more, but no way I would purchase one.
Well, I mean, if you break down out in the middle of nowhere, you're kind of screwed anyway.
Too many issues and too much insanity with it. But yeah. Although out here it's pretty much family oriented.
I just read Mythos.
What one?
Don't be silly. You be perfectly well behaved. Mythos is a good boy. Yeah. I guarantee Lily probably has him hijacked.
What?
Has a chip in him?
Oh, like LoJack?
LoJack, not hijacked.
I was like, wait a minute, you're confusing me. Oh no, Ice Wolf, we're just gonna go camp wherever we want. Silly people. We'll just play off that we don't know any better.
We're tourists.
We're tourists, yeah. Think of it, Telemachus, because they're complete junk. Yeah, there's safety issues on it, but I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Oh, I didn't know they were Nazi made.
What?
The trucks? I didn't know that one.
I think the concept on the truck was trying to make it look like spacey, futuristic, kind of like something out of Halo universe. I didn't know that either there, but the problem here is they catch on fire with the doors locked. People have died in them. I
don't even want to beat them.
I wouldn't. I mean, and they're not going to go as far. You just can't do what you can't do with a gasoline truck. So, plus they're expensive, and they don't. Looking at them up close, they honestly just. It's not like what you see in a picture. Well, I'm sure you've seen them up close out there in Texas, but you walk up to it and I look at it and I was like, man, this doesn't look very well made. It just looks cheap, I guess. But
cool concept, but
the concept, I seen what they were trying to do with the concept. It just didn't. I didn't think come out as well as they thought it would. I had no idea they were made that way. You'll have to send me a message on that one. Hugo Boss.
Hugo's last two popped up in the chat.
Huh.
The last two comments haven't popped up in the chat at all.
Because of the words in it. So yep. It's interesting it'll go through here, but on Facebook it's not going through.
I say it popped up, but in the actual chat it doesn't.
They bottom out when they change in elevation, the parts fall off the eye. Oh, you meant Musk? Oh, okay. Yeah, some people have a lot of money, I guess. Sometimes concepts don't, on the drawing board just don't work out in real life. All in all, I would, just find a different form of transportation is all. But going back to Ice Wolf saying camping's only allowed at special places, out here they're just called campgrounds. And this morning, we took a trip a little bit. It's about 15, 20 minutes out. And There's 30,000 plus public acres there that's managed by the Department of Natural Resources, or DNR. And we were going to take the dogs out there to walk, and then when we got there, they got a sign up that says no dogs allowed through
March through July.
I think that's because that's the pheasant breeding
season,
season, and
yep.
So they're trying to keep the pheasant population good. So we drove all the way out there, and there's 30,000 acres to just explore with the dogs, and we couldn't do anything.
No.
So I was like, well, it would have been fun for them just to get out and run. But then we just brought it back. But you have, what I'm getting at, Ice Wolf, is we have chunks of land like that out here that are just solely open to public. So a lot of people will go bird watching or mushroom hunting, and of course during hunting season, that people use those lands to hunt on. Deer is a big thing out here. People are mostly, you don't run across quote trophy hunters. They're just families putting meat in the freezer is pretty much who you'll run across.
Yeah.
And it's pretty simple out here. They used to let people camp on that out there in the middle of nowhere. And then one time they caught somebody making bad things out there, and they closed it off to people camping after that. Well, because you could be out in the middle of nowhere and still have somebody riding your bumper, and you're like, wait a minute, we're in the middle of nowhere. How does that work? That there's all this acreage, and then it seems to be crowded. That's kind of why. But yeah, it's there's things to do out here. Our poor table is full of stuff.
Yeah, well, you can't blame.
That's your moo cup, Ashley.
Maya's been using it.
And you got
because it's a moo.
She was playing with the bridge in the tank.
Yep.
She likes that.
And I got my little
she's gonna be a war gamer.
Or my resin printed tanks. They're 6mm. Take it too. The granddaughter loves this, playing with all this stuff.
She loves the miniature stuff.
So
the future is another war gamer for the table. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you could see it, but there's one of my Warhammer guys that she plays with as the monster.
Yeah.
Or the giant spider, because that's kind of what it is.
You don't have a lot of room. Ice Wolf says they have places like nature stuff, but no camping or hunting. It's just too small. Yeah, if you live in a place that's small like that, there's nothing, there's not much you can do about it. There is quite a bit of open spaces out here in between the cities, so
they probably have inns or something like that around his area.
Yeah, the tax dollars out here do go for a lot of. It's a family orientated place, so there's a lot of campgrounds and a lot of state parks and a lot of things like that. So Tillamook says campsites are way overcrowded. Where he's at, the state-run ones, and they're expecting 68% increase this summer.
Well, he's saying private ones are so pricey.
Well, yeah, that's because people need a break, and they should keep camping, in my opinion, cheap. Your tax dollars have already paid for the place. It already pays for the upkeep. So why are we actually paying to camp there on land that we bought with our taxes? It should be free. Just make a reservation. It shouldn't be you got to pay. But out here, it's generally about $15 a night is all. Most places, if you're going to camp.
Huh. If you had a boat, you're golden.
If you have a boat, you're golden. Ice Wolf says lots of places.
How do you camp on a boat?
Well, that means you can travel, move up and down the river and find places. Like here, you can go up and down the river and find areas.
Yeah, if you put your...
I'd
be too afraid of crocs or something trying to get into the boat.
There's no crocodiles out here.
Not here.
We know of.
Not here.
Although we would be the first ones to find out, I guarantee it.
But we have...
Ooh, look at that little lizard swimming. No, don't pet it. That's not a lizard.
Pond puppy.
A pond puppy.
Or swamp puppy. I'm sorry, swamp... No. What is that? That's a swamp puppy.
Pond. Just stay with pond puppy. You're good there.
Hippo. That's a pond puppy.
No.
Yes, I want a pond puppy.
Those things are dangerous. So. I don't know. I know I wouldn't want to camp in the 40K universe. That would be a bit much. So,
Oh no, I would not want
be
to
a
be
little
living
terrifying, just a tad bit.
Oh,
What you looking at?
trying to check the time wise and making sure that hasn't glitched. Oh, no, it's still good still.
They're 4 to 5 times as much. That's too bad,
Oh
Telemachus.
wow.
It's because people just need a break, and getting outside is, it's good for you. It's good for you to get a break. There are some campgrounds here. I will tell you that it's the RV ones are too close.
Yeah.
They and when we drove through, so there's a state park down in a place called Palo, about 15 minutes up from here. So you can drive out there, and it's a 2,000-acre fishing area, pond, if you want to call it a lake, I guess. But there's campsites out there. And anyways, the RV ones, they're just too, like, I don't know. I wouldn't do it if I had a big motorhome. I wouldn't do this. You're stacked too much. What's funny though is we drove through there, and they got these portable fences that they put around their RV, and the whole family's sitting outside. Nice, beautiful day yesterday. They're all in lawn chairs,
and someone's watching TV,
facing the RV, watching a big screen TV on a stand outside. Why are you out camping, watching TV? Like, I don't understand. I guess, but they were on, and not just one, but multiple. I was like, this is crazy. But then when you drive over to the camp areas, with the tent, you got quite a bit of space. You got your own little space.
Yeah.
So if you take a tent, you do have space. Telemachus says they're 4 to 5 times as much, and that's on just an empty lot. Well, that little video we did last week on our anniversary, and we put it up there. If you go look at that, you'll see that cabin that we got for the weekend was a state park. So it had an indoor bathroom, shower, little stove, sink, refrigerator, but it was a really awesome wood cabin. It was kind of just a kickback. Yeah, you would not. A lot of these Ice Wolf, some of these people spend $80,000, $100,000, $150,000 on these motorhomes, and they're just massive. They expand, and I'm like, it's an awful lot of money. And to me, that's not camping. I mean, you're literally driving a house around. That's something if you want to live on the road, that's what I would get. But I even if I could afford it, I would not buy something like that to go camping with. Oh, wow. Icewolf says he doesn't really have crocodiles or snakes, but they do have wolves. Nice. So you got to be careful then. You got to be careful.
It's a wood puppy.
A wood puppy. Here, puppy. No. That's not a puppy. But they do. They have some crazy ones out here. Like, we're not too fancy. We just have a tent. The fanciest thing I did, because I got a bad back, is
we got a queen size bed.
We got an inflatable queen size inflatable bed that inflates, because I just can't sleep on the ground, straight on the ground anymore with my back. It's just
my knees
too
can't
hard.
get up off them.
Yeah, it's too hard to get up after that. But that's about the extent of our fanciness, and you can get those for $22 at Walmart. That's it. You blow it up and throw it in a tent.
$500K for a flimsy mobile home.
Motorhome. Yeah, I don't know, Telemachus. I don't understand why, unless you're going to live on the road, and I understand it then. If that's how you're living, and maybe you're retired, maybe you're just independently wealthy and you're going to live on the road, I get it. Then I get it. But if you're just getting it to go camping once or twice a year, I mean, wouldn't it be cheaper just to get a hotel room if that's what you're going to do? Because, like I said,
it would take you like 80 years to pay it off.
you're out there and they got a big screen TV and this portable fence. And I'm like, in the middle of this beautiful day where you're camping, you're just watching TV. Like you do that at home, right? So I don't see the point now. But that's just my own opinion. I'm not degrading anybody or putting them down. While I go camping, I want to relax. I don't necessarily want a TV or even the phone. I deal with the phone so much during the week, but for work, literally don't want nothing to do with it on the weekend. I get tired of it. Hold on a second here.
Are we hitting that 2-hour mark?
Yeah, for those of you on Podbean, we have to end this. Thank you for being there. We've had people there the whole time, but it's a limited to 2 hours on the broadcast. So it says I got 2 minutes left. So thank you guys. And our shows are Sundays, 4 p.m. Central on YouTube if you want to hang out with us there. But we appreciate it. You guys have a good weekend and be safe. And we're going to have to end that. So, yeah, that was cool. Toluca says the music stars use a modified bus, much stronger. Yeah, similar price. So I think there's people that buy the buses and then they revamp them. I think that's cool too. You know what I mean? At least that's maneuverable. Like they'll get an old school bus and
I've seen that. Make them in like to a small home or whatever.
Yeah, and then, but they're getting at an auction where they're getting it really cheap, and
yeah,
it doesn't take millions of dollars to convert it. But some of the stuff too out here, Ice Wolf, is they just throw prices out and expect people to pay it, and that's just how it is on some stuff. It's just crazy. Charles says, Cali. We know you're in Cali, sir.
No, just talking about the creatures.
Oh, the
snakes,
creatures?
mountain lion, snakes.
Cali. Yeah, you got snakes.
Snakes, earthquakes.
Earthquakes. All the fires, Charles. When I lived out there, I remember multiple large fires where you could come out and just turn 360 and you're watching everything just burn. It's a lot out there. Landslides, mudslides, earthquakes, and whatnot. Craziness. You get used to it. I did when I was living in California. And when I come out here, I didn't realize what I was living in because to me, that was normal. It's like the rest of the country is like that. You're like, no, actually, the rest of the country is not. Cali is its own place. That's why it's called Cali. They don't even call it California anymore.
I mean, out here, you got deer, you got snakes, you got some bobcats, coyotes, coons,
coyotes,
foxes. Just trying to think of things that could basically hurt you.
The coyotes, well, if they
coyotes,
leave up, but that's
say rarely. I think they've seen maybe bears up by the Mississippi River, but not really anything clear towards us.
And yeah, Telemachus landslides. So a place called Anaheim Hills. I'm sure Charles has heard of that. Very fancy pants area, lots of money. But every once in a while, because they build it up in the hills there, the ground would just give way and you'd lose a house. Sometimes people would be in the house, sometimes not. And so it's a common thing out there. I still don't know why people buy it out there, but it's a lot of it's prestige. A lot of smog, and I live down in Southern California, and so I used to have to drive an hour and a half one way up over Cajon Pass and come back down because I go from Anaheim up to Victorville, which was a desert area. And coming back down, you could actually see the smog. It looked like just this brown layer. And you're like, oh man, you're going to drive down into that and breathe it. And there's no way to get away from it. Waterborne diseases, yeah. Brain-eating parasites. Yeah, that seems to be a big rise. Parasites in the news, at least these days. We've always had them. They've always been around, but now they at least are talking about them. I wonder if that's what happened to me. I got a brain-eating parasite. Maybe that's why I forget some stuff sometimes.
But you're not going to blame that on me.
No, I've reached my blame limit. So there's something everywhere, Telemachus. I guess this may not be the greatest place, but at least it's more family orientated. It's more outdoors orientated, and it's not as violent as like California where I lived. It's very violent place, and you just get used to it. So when you're used to it, you just don't notice it. But it's not a good place. Well, Charles down there, when they train the Marines and let them out into San Diego, they'll even tell the Marines you're not supposed to go out with at least two of you together. And that's in the same town Charles lives in, because there's a good side on Charles and a bad side. And so they never used to even let them go out unless it was at least two or more in a group when they went off base. So I don't know. You just have to get used to it. It's from there it did. It moved in from the west. Oof. Well, Telemachus, you share a problem a lot of other people share. How's that? Now, if you'd like to keep all the whole problem, you can, but yeah, this thing is still processing.
Yeah, it takes a little bit to.
You gotta move.
We're got our 2 hours.
Yeah, you guys, we're gonna go ahead and
I gotta figure out something for dinner
and figure out what we're gonna do with the rest of the evening. But I thank you guys for coming by and hanging out. And I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. And like I say every week, because it's true, this show is a good ending to my week and a good beginning. I learned to stay out of the water in California there, Telemachus. Long ago, I quit going to the beaches when I was out there. Just, you would not believe how incredibly polluted the water is and how bad it is. But anyways, stay safe, have fun, and take care of yourself, especially you, Telemachus, if you have to boil water. That's true. They're starting to get here probably, Telemachus. I'm betting. I don't know. That's kind of what it looks like. But,
all right, guys. We will catch you guys next week. Same time as always.
Yep.
Bye.
Goodbye.